our topic for the day, right? So the first question for the day is, when is the World Water Day? Do you know there's something called a World Water Day? The United Nations celebrates something called the World Water Day. All right, so I see two hands up. Akshit Chobe. Akshit, please tell us which class you are in and which school you are in, and then give me the answer.
It's actually Akrisht.
I'm so sorry, Akrish.
No problem, no problem. I study in Sardar Patel Vidyalay, and I am in grade 7th.
All
and
right.
the answer is 22nd March, which is today.
Oh my God. All right. So, fine. Akrish has very correctly answered the first question for the day. So the World Water Day is right now. It's actually today. The next question. Why are we even celebrating a World Water Day? I mean, what's exciting or what's even so important about water? Any guesses? Okay, COVID Pant, would you like to answer why are we even celebrating a World Water Day? Is water even that important?
Ma'am, because nowadays people are wasting waters, ma'am. They are washing their cars with pipes, and ma'am, they are taking bath with showers. Ma'am, to understand how much water is important for us, we celebrate World Water Day.
COVID, which class are you in and which school do you study in? Can you please tell us a little?
Ma'am, I'm in class 5th in Little Flowers International School.
Thank you so much. It's great to see class 5 students know why water is so much important for us. I feel proud once again to be hosting such a aware and conscious audience. Okay, the third question for the day. So if water is actually so important, do you know what causes the maximum amount of wastage of water? A, is it because of bathing? B, is it because of the way we use toilets? C, is it because of cooking? Or D, is it because of all of this or anything else? So what causes the maximum wastage of water? Bathrooms, toilets, kitchens, or anything else? Okay, so Kian has raised his hand. Kian, can you please tell us which class?
Ma'am is D, ma'am. All of this, ma'am. I mean, ma'am, is A, ma'am. Ma'am, because water.
Kian, first of all, we would like to see you. Can you please switch on your video?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from Sardar. Ma'am, I'm from Sardar Patel Vidyalaya, ma'am. Class 7, ma'am.
Okay.
And ma'am, the answer is D, ma'am. Ma'am, because all of this, ma'am, you said, ma'am, ma'am, that's how we have wastewater, ma'am. Like.
Sorry, I didn't get you. So you mean to say that the question is in which way do we cause the maximum wastage of water?
Ma'am, A.
A. Okay, a faint guess, I assume. So there are a couple of people on our chat strip, like Anuradha Gupta says that it's because of flushing toilets. Okay, I'll take one more answer and then I'll present to you the next question and the last question for the day. Okay, Alek Gupta, would you like to tell us in which way do you think do we cause the maximum wastage of water? Is it by is it because of the wastage in the bathroom, wastage in the toilets, wastage of water in the kitchens, or anything else?
Ma'am, it's D. All of them.
All of them. Okay, that's a smart guess. All right. Thank you, Alek. Alek, are you also from Delhi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I'm in class 3 and I study in Cambridge School NFC.
Oh, that's so lovely. And that's so overwhelming for me. As a class 3 student, you are so well aware of the ways in which we are misusing water these days. Thank you so much for joining our session. And now I will give you a last question for the day. So, okay, do you people know that, okay, so one of the prominent ways in which water is wasted these days is because of the way in which we use water in our toilets. So do you have any idea how much do we poop every day, and how much, and what exactly happens after we flush the toilet? So, okay, let me break this down. The first question is, any guesses as to how much do we poop every day? The option 1 is 10 grams. The option 2 is 50 grams. Option 3 is 100 grams. Or option 4 is 200 grams. Any guesses as to how much does your poop weigh every morning? Okay, so I do have a lot of hands raised, and I don't know why the girls are lagging behind. Fine. Let me unmute Aryan Swami. Aryan, you seem to be listening to the questions very attentively. Can you please make a very random guess as to how much do we poop every day?
Ma'am, 20 gram.
20 grams?
Ma'am, no, 100 gram.
100 grams. Okay. Yeah, I know this question left me pondering as well. All right. So, well, the correct answer is something which our expert for the day will tell us. And okay, well, before I introduce him to you, let me gather a few exciting answers to a very curious question that we all have. So when you flush the toilet finally, where do you think does your poop go? I will take 5 random answers. Adinath, Anish, can you please tell us where do you think does your poop go once you flush the toilet? Adinath, we can't hear you. When
Ma'am,
you
I think it goes to the
goes in the air,
underground.
underground. Okay, that is one response.
No, under.
Okay, Savanidhi Ananda, do you want to answer where does your poop go once you flush the toilet?
I think it goes in the drainage system or the sewage system.
Drainage system or the sewage system. All right. Oh, Vian, do you also want to answer this? Where do you think does the toilet go once you press flush?
Sewer.
In the sewage. All right. Okay. Gracie Gupta, do you also want to answer this?
Yes, ma'am.
Gracie, where
And
do
it goes in drains.
it goes in the drains? My God. Okay. Gracie, which class are you in? Yeah, Gracie.
Ma'am, I am in 6th class, Little Flower Public School, Yamuna Vihar.
Thank you so much. Guys, I must tell you that you people leave me spellbound all the time. I am really overwhelmed with the extent of awareness that you have, because one of our fellow mates went to the market once and he randomly asked grown-ups of different age groups as to where do they think our poop goes once they flush the toilet. And we got all sorts of hilarious answers, except the most sensible answers, which is that our poop goes into the drainage system. Some people answered that it vanishes in the air. Some answered that it just goes into the river, or some answered some other random question that it just vanishes somehow. Well, that's why we have hosted the session today. 80% of the water that we use every day becomes waste, and maximum wastage of this water is caused because of the flush and forget toilets that we have. Therefore, on the eve of this World Water Day, we have decided to host a session on poop and ponder. That is, let us try to explore how much does our sanitation system can help in conserving water. In order to answer all our uh, assumptions and curiosities on toilets, sanitation, water, hygiene, etc., we have our wonderful guest for the day today, which is Bitush Luthra. Bitush has been one of our dear colleagues from the Center for Science and Environment. He was an ex-colleague over here. He worked as a program manager. Bitush began his journey as a mechanical engineer. Then he went on to specialize in environmental engineering from the IIT Kanpur. Then he joined the Center for Science and Environment, where he worked as a program manager. And he worked on a variety of research and capacity building initiatives. He wrote reports and guidelines on improving sanitation and worked very closely on the National Mission for Clean Ganga. Right now, he's a principal consultant at the Athena Infonomics, which is a data-driven global consultancy. I would now request Bitush to take charge and to address our excited and curious audience.
Thank you, Anubhuti. And listening to the kids, I think I have to relook at the slides, whether some slides are even relevant or not to this smart bunch of kids. So allow me to share my screen and
Sure. Meanwhile, I would like to tell all you kids that in case you have any questions, please jot them down. We will come to you at the end of the session where you can raise your hand and I will come to you. You can unmute yourself, ask the question to Bitush, and he will answer it right away for you.
okay, if somebody can tell me my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's perfectly visible. Please go ahead.
Right. So as the topic says, poop and ponder, we'll try and decode and understand what is this water, wastewater, sanitation, poop. What do these words really mean to us, and how they play quite a big role in our day-to-day lives. So before we talk about poop, I think it's also important to understand where does the water come to our taps from. So if anybody in the audience would like to kind of answer, you can put it on the chat. Where do you think the water in our taps come from?
Okay, so where does the water come in the tap in the first place? This is the question. Any options?
Does it come from the clouds? Does it come from some kind of a water body? Does it come from groundwater? Or the government is responsible to supply water to my house?
Okay, so we have Atik. Atik has raised his hand and we haven't asked any question to him before. So Atik, where do you think the water in your tap comes from?
Ma'am, I think like the water in our taps come from the government installed pipes, and mainly it comes from the rivers. And I study in class 5 in Cambridge Primary School, NFC.
Excellent. You have given us all the answers that we were looking for. Bitush, please take our session forward.
Right. So as rightly shared by Atik, that generally we would have a supply from the government through the pipes, but the question also remains, where do the government source the water from? So basically there are two major sources. As Atik said, it comes from the rivers. The rivers, lakes, ponds, sea, ocean, all of these water bodies come under the category of surface water because we can see the water on the surface. Yeah, so that's one source of water that gets utilized by the government and supplied to our homes. And then there is another source, which is called as groundwater, which we need to extract from under the ground. And it's not necessary that all the places we will have the groundwater. So, but then there are places where we get groundwater, let's say in 50 meters. In some places, we get the groundwater in 100 meters down from the surface. So it varies from place to place, right? So generally, the government will try and see if the river is the closest source. They try and source the water from the river or any surface water body. And if they feel that the groundwater is accessible and would be cheaper to extract groundwater, then they use that source. Moving on, I have a picture in front of you. Now that we understand the two kinds of sources of water, can you tell me whether the picture in front of you is an example of a groundwater source or a surface water?
All right. Oh, lots of hands. Wow. Okay. Shaurya Kusuma. Shaurya, we haven't spoken to you before. Shaurya, welcome to the session. What do you think is the correct answer?
Ground.
Groundwater. All right.
Correct. So since you can see the well, I mean, it has to, somebody has to either pump it out or this bucket needs to go down and you have to pull it up. So we are trying to source the groundwater. So this is one type of way in which you can extract water from the ground. Then there is, if you apply a motor here, it's called a tube well, and then you can extract that water. Right. An example, I mean, just wanted to show a picture I clicked when I was in Leh some time back. So this is a river that can also be used to supply water.
Okay.
Right. Now our next question is, can we drink this water directly? As in, would the government supply this, like take this water from the river or from the ground and supply it to our taps? And so just wanted to understand from you, can we directly drink this water?
Man Thakkar, do you want to answer this question?
Yes, ma'am. The water in these rivers is very polluted and dirty with bacteria and germs. So there are water purification centers where the water is purified and it is provided to like complexes or houses by the government to government pipes.
Okay, so you think that we can drink this river water directly? No?
No.
No? Okay. Man, where are you based, by the way?
I am in Mumbai.
Oh, you're in Mumbai. Oh, that's great. It's great to have someone apart from our daily visitors. Thank you.
Right. So, okay, that means we need to, we need some or the other kind of treatment or purification before we can drink it, right? Because as in the river, in the previous picture you saw, there is this water is a little muddy and it might contain certain more pollutants. We'll try to understand the pollutants better during the presentation as well. So, okay, now we are clear that there are two sources, and either of the sources we might need some or the other kind of treatment. So let's try and just understand the whole chain of this water supply. So there is a source, either it's a surface water, as you can see in your leftmost part of this slide, there's a surface water or there's a groundwater that we can source. Then we do some or the other kind of a treatment, and we can generally call it a water treatment plant. So there is some preliminary treatment that the government or the authority that is providing water would do. Then they need to also store this water, and you must have seen some structures like overhead tanks. So we source it, we treat it, we store it, and then we use the pipe network to provide water to whether it's a residential area or it's an institutional area. So sometimes we need to use big pumps to make sure that water reaches to our houses and is also of good pressure. I mean, if you open the tap, you generally see there's good pressure coming in, and it's not just trickling down, right? So there is pumping involved, there is these pipe network involved, and that's how we eventually get the water at our homes or any other marketplace or our schools. Now, I have pointed out a question mark towards the right. So, of course, we'll try and decode this later on as well. But and also, I think Anubhuti also did ask this question earlier: that what happens to our wastewater? So, after this water is supplied to whether it's a residential area or to the institutional area, there is some or the other kind of wastewater that we produce. Now, though I'm using the word wastewater, but this was the last time I will use this word, because if our mentality is that this water is waste and cannot be reused or utilized later on, then we will also try and dispose it of. That's the reason there's a new terminology that is being implemented across the country, which we now use, is called used water.
Okay.
So let's, yeah, Nubhuti, you want to?
No, I'm so sorry. Nothing.
Right. So now I think just wanted to show some pictures at how these pipelines of water supply look like and how treatment units. So what you see in center, it's a sand filter where if the water trickles down from the top to the bottom, the sand or the suspended particles in the water gets captured. Similarly, the overhead tank, and you must have seen various structures like these in your colony or nearby. Right. So I think in the beginning also somebody did say that why we celebrate World Water Day is because it has been observed that because it is available to us, we tend to waste it. And what we have realized is since more and more as the population is increasing, let's say in the urban areas, and let's say there are people also who are migrating from rural areas and other areas to urban areas, there is a lot of demand that is getting generated for water. Whether if even if the industries are increasing, they need water. Even if the population is increasing, they need water. So we need some minimum amount of water to survive. And but a lot of people think that because we can afford, because it is available to us in abundance, it looks like it is available in abundance, we can waste it. And that is the reason a lot of things are happening across the globe, I would say, not just in India. So that's what we'll try and understand from the next slide. So since our two sources, one is the surface water, the other is the groundwater, is we are extracting more and more water because there is more and more demand. What is happening is the rivers are drying out. Yeah, you can see in the left that used to be a river where a lot of water used to flow, but now it's completely dry. And what you see on the right, this used to be a well where water could have been extracted, but now it has run dry. So what is happening is that the level of water, which was available in 50 meters, is now available at 100 meters. Next year, it goes to 120 meters. Because we are extracting or exploiting rather these sources, our sources are running dry. So I will just ask you to hold that thought here that because the demand is increasing, we are exploiting the sources, and which means that we need to dig further and further down to extract more water, and also means that I need to go to the rivers which are further away. So let's say a river was flowing by through the city, that river runs dry, then I go further away. So I have to build pipelines which are bigger and longer, that means a lot of cost I need to invest to get water to my house. But because this, what when I open my tap, I don't know the story behind, so I tend to rather waste water. So when we have this in mind, I think we can rethink while we are trying to use the water that is available to us today, because tomorrow we will not have water if we continue to waste water unsustainably the way we are. So that's about the water journey, and we'll come back to water bodies again. That one is, of course, we are in a way forcefully drying them, and what else are we doing to them? We'll try and understand in the coming slides. So as I said that we will not use the word wastewater. So let's now discuss about used water. Can somebody tell me what are the different types of used water possible, or you know about? Anybody?
Sorry, Bitush, you'll have to put your question once again.
So the question is, if anybody knows about different kinds of used water that you have heard of, or you know of, or you
Okay.
want to guess.
Hmm. All right. So the question is, what are the different types of used water that you know about? First of all, you need to know that you should not call wastewater as wastewater anymore. Wastewater is actually used water, right? So what are the different types of used water? Any idea? Okay, so we have some hands up. Dani and Anhad, would you like to answer this? What are the different kinds of used water that we have? You have a quite a cute framing to your video today.
Thank you. Sewage, and when we bathe, that water.
Have you heard of gray water, black water, and things like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Dani and Anhad, where are you from? Which class?
I don't go to school.
And which place?
I'm living in Gujarat.
Okay, thank you. So, Bitush, you can continue with. Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering. So, what I heard was sewage, and there is some kind of water that we or used water that comes out when we take bath. So, let me also say that all the answers are correct. Okay, so don't feel that okay, my answer would be wrong. What will people think about? So, please feel free to share your thoughts. Okay. So let's see. Broadly speaking, one is a type of used water that gets produced in a domestic setting, which is like a residential setting, which is like houses or societies. So that's one category of used water. So it will have a different characteristics. Whereas there is a different kind of used water that gets produced in industries. So the characteristics of that used water will be totally different. There can be many more, but broadly speaking, the two broad categories are these two. Now, since I think it's a very informative or very informed audience, would anybody like to guess the broad difference between the two kinds of used water? You can guess as well. Any pertinent difference that you feel will be there? Okay, so the question is, can you make any guesses between domestic used water and industrial used water? I think Madhav Shankar can take this answer. Madhav, you seem to be a senior student. Which class are you in and which city?
Good evening. I'm in class 12 and I'm from Kochi.
Okay, that's great to have you join us from all the way from South India. So can you make any guesses to the question that we have on our screen?
Yes. So I think domestic water is generally not too harmful for the nature,
Okay.
because sometimes, like while we are bathing, or the water that we have after washing the dishes could be a little soapy.
Mhm.
Whereas the industrial used water is really toxic and it can pollute the land, and it is really toxic. We can't use it anymore.
That's a pretty smart guess. Bitush, what do you say about this?
Yeah, perfect. So as you said, it's toxic. I think that's the right word to describe the industrial waste or used water. I need to also try and use used water more. So basically, it will have many more chemicals, right? Which, as mother said, would be or could be harmful to nature. Whereas domestic used water might have some chemicals, very little like soaps and detergents, but mostly some organic, some or gray water. So we'll try and understand those different kinds of used water as well. Right. Since we are now trying to dive deeper into or understanding what is this domestic used water, it would also be useful to see what sources of or from where do we produce these used water, domestic used water. So as you can see, sorry for my throat. So bathing and toilets is mostly contributing to this domestic used water. Then washing clothes, washing utensils, house cleaning, and very limited to be used for drinking, cooking, and others. Right? It's interesting. It would be interesting for you to know. I think most of you already know that the water that comes to your household, uh, almost 80% of that goes out as a used water, right? And uh, so per person, if we need to still kind of come to an average value, that comes out to be, on an average, comes out to be 135 liters per person per day, right? If, for example, in my house there are 4 people, we are talking about uh, something roughly around 550 to 600 liters per day is the water that is coming to my house, and roughly 400 liters of that water, or a little more than 400 liters, will go out, right? So that's something to be, if you not heard of this, this is something that you can take back, that around 80% or even a little more than that is what goes out as used water. Now, this used water or domestic used water also has two broad categories. One, let me come to the right first. The water that comes out or goes down from the toilets is coined as black water, right? Apart from that, whether it's water from wash basin, water from washing dishes, water from washing machine, water from bathing, water from mopping the floor of the household, all of that water will contribute to gray water. And if I need to still differentiate between the two with respect to the toxicity, if you can use that word, then black water is more toxic as compared to gray water. We'll try and understand why in the subsequent slides. So also in this, you can see in the black water, I've written in the brackets, excreta plus flush water. Can somebody help me decode the word excreta? What constitutes of excreta?
Does anyone want to take that question? What does excreta mean? Have you heard of the word excreta? Yeah. So we have, okay, Vian. Vian?
Poop.
That is bang on. Vian, which class are you in? Are you from the Cambridge school?
I am in Shishuvar, 3rd standard.
Bombay.
Okay. Oh, you're in Bombay. Thank you so much for joining us from Bombay. Which class are you in?
2nd standard.
3rd standard.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So, Bitush,
Okay.
our kids from class 3 know that excreta is poop.
Great. So, poop is the right answer, but there is something more.
Okay.
Can somebody add to it? What is also considered under excreta?
Okay, let me take one more fresh hand. So, Yash, would you like to answer what, apart from poop, constitutes excreta? Can you also put on your video? Wastewater. I think Yash says that wastewater and poop together make excreta.
All right. So let me go to the next slide and see if people want to change their answer.
All right. Woohoo.
Okay. So poop is the right answer, but we can't forget pee. Pee and poo together is called excreta, right? And both pee and poo have some characteristics which, if we know it, can help us also understand how maybe we can think of reusing these products. Why I'm saying reusing? Because we are talking about sustainability and we don't want to waste anything here. We want to reuse and recycle things, right? So pee or urine is actually very rich in nutrients, be it nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So pee contains all of these nutrients, whereas poop is very rich in carbon. I think for some kids these terms might be tough, but I don't think so. But so whenever in the future, whenever we are thinking of reusing these byproducts, so we can think of what all things might need carbon and or what all things might need such nutrients, where these things can act as catalysts or enablers or so on and so forth. So I don't want to restrict your thinking. You can think beyond whatever I am saying. So with that thought, now what we understand is domestic wastewater constitutes of grey water and black water. Black water constitutes of excreta plus flush water, and excreta is a combination of pee and poop. All right, I think we did touch upon this question in the beginning. And so it's because each of us are a little different. We can't say, okay, Akrish produces 100 and Man also produces 100 grams. So there is a range. Yeah. So, but we generally lie between this range only, 100 to 250 grams per person per day. So if you do a little bit of maths, the whole country produces this much poop every day. Can somebody would somebody like to count it?
I'm sure our kids are really smart and I already have so many hands up. So Who would like to do this simple counting? India produces minimum dash grams of poop every day. I think it's any. Who would like to read it out? Aryan Swami, would you like to read out this number? I think we have lost connection with Aryan, or he's not able to hear us. Angela Basu, it's great to see you. Angela.
Yes, ma'am. It's 1 crore 40 lakhs.
No, it's much more. I think
it's put. All right. So, yeah, Anaya, would you like to answer this question? Would you?
Yes.
Yeah, would you like to read out this figure that we have on the screen?
1,40,000 crores.
1,40,000 crores.
Yes, I think that's right. 1,40,000.
We are close, but I think, yeah, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Moving on, though it looks like solid, but it is interesting to know that 75 to 80% of excreta is nothing but water. So let's say after pooping, if we should not do it, but if we let it dry, though it might look like 100, 125 grams when it's fresh, but after a day or two, when it dries off, it will turn into like a 10 grams or 20 grams of solids only. So this is just for your information, not that we have to try it. And though in the last slide, we talked about there are some qualities that excreta would have, there is also an issue. Has anybody heard this term pathogen before? And if somebody has, can you quickly define it for us?
Yeah, you people can also write it in the chat strip if you want. I'm sure actually children are quite aware of what pathogen mean. So, yeah, Santosh Chaudhary, do you want to answer what a pathogen is? Are you there? So, I think, Bitush, we will assume that children are aware of what pathogens are, or maybe you could explain at once to them.
So to understand, I think Akrish also wants to say.
All right, Akrish, yeah.
You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, so they are basically bacterium viruses which causes diseases in simple language. So
Yeah.
if we...
Thank you so much for defining it very, very clearly. So in further simpler language, if somehow some fecal matter enters our digestive system, we are going to be very, very ill. Right? So, I mean, so that's about pathogens. But on this slide, I just wanted to convey that when we talk about used water, there are different kinds of other impurities as well. There are some physical impurities because we tend to litter a lot in the drains. And I mean, I don't know if you have seen that. In the open drains, we see a lot of littering happening. So that kind of adds to the physical impurities. Then there are chemical impurities, which could be through soap, detergents, through, and of course the pathogens, which Akrish also clearly explained. It is consists of bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and much more. So this is just to kind of differentiate between the different kinds of impurities that used water might have. I have a very small video which I would like to you to have a look at. This video is explaining the whole cycle or the impact of pathogens in our lives. So let's quickly watch this video.
Also, Bitush, I just wanted to remind you that we have just a few minutes more. We have about 15 minutes more for the session to go.
This is the story of how cholera changed my village. Tiny germs of cholera, too small to see, spread through the river. So small, yet so dangerous. Without realizing, women carried cholera home in the water. Flies carried cholera on their feet. Unwashed hands spread it too. We swallowed cholera germs in our water, on our food, and on our fingers. It happened so fast. By morning, my father was very sick. He had diarrhea that looked like grey water and poured out of him. I was so scared. I went for help. I never rode so fast. One look at my father and the nurse knew it was cholera. We had to work fast to save him. We made a special drink to help him. First, we made the water safe. We filtered it through cloth and boiled it for 1 minute. Then we mixed half a teaspoon of salt and 6 teaspoons of sugar in 1 liter of this safe water. It tasted like tears, not too salty. I worried my father would die before my eyes, but he soon felt a little stronger. The nurse explained to me that not everyone who swallows cholera germs gets sick like my father, but they can still spread the disease. Now I needed to take safe water to my village and teach them how to protect themselves from cholera. I saw a girl carrying water. I told her she could make the water safe by adding chlorine drops and waiting half an hour. There was a man about to eat with unclean hands. I told him to always wash his hands with soap and safe water after going to the toilet. Only with clean hands could he eat safely. I saw villagers spreading cholera into our river. I told them we needed to dig latrines far from the river, at least 30 meters away. This was important to keep our village clean. I found a mother preparing unsafe food. I told her, first, we must wash our hands with safe water. Then, we had to wash and peel the food, cook it and always eat it hot, and protect it from flies. I spread the word throughout my village and ran to find my father. I was so happy to see he was better. Our village became healthy. Now we filter and boil our water to make sure it is safe. We always use latrines and always wash our hands after. Food is safe from flies, washed and peeled and cooked. And we always wash our hands before cooking and eating. We made our village safe from cholera. Spread the word. Your village can be safe too.
Right. So anybody who wants to quickly share any takeaway points from the video? We can take one feedback.
Well, Bitush, I think because we are in shortage of time, it would be a good idea if you could proceed with the
Right.
PPT. And then we can collectively take the responses of students at the end.
I really hope you've taken some points from the video. We can discuss it towards the end.
Sure.
So the pertinent question that I think in the beginning also we did check, what happens once we flush down our excreta? And some people did share that it goes down the drainage system. Some people said it goes into a sewer network. So let's try and understand what really happens. And to understand what really happens, there is a term for that, which is sanitation. Yeah, which means collecting and disposing of excreta and community liquid waste in a hygienic way so as not to endanger the health of individuals and the community as a whole. So this is a verbatim definition by WHO of sanitation. So in very, very layman language, to manage excreta so that it doesn't contribute to unhealthy situations in the community, and also it takes excreta away from the human body, is called sanitation. Now, I think in the beginning also we did get some responses on that after we flush down, it goes into something like a septic tank. So to understand this sanitation better, we've kind of divided into two broad categories. One is called an off-site sanitation system, which would mean that once you flush down, the black water or the combination of black and gray water is taken away from the household to a centralized treatment system, which means from all the households it gets into the pipe network, and then it eventually goes to a centrally located treatment system. Whereas, let's say for each household, we don't have a pipe system, we don't have a sewerage network, or we don't have those sewers in place in the society. So in that case, we have something like an on-site system, which means you try and manage the excreta near the household or just below the household. So you don't take it away from the household. So it's called an on-site system, which means on the site itself, we try and treat it. Right, so that's a broad category of two systems. So talking about offsite system, somebody did mention sewer network or sewers. So this is how what you see these arrows from different households. The smaller pipes are joining in the access holes, which were earlier called manholes. So on the road, you might have seen these circular access holes or manholes. But underground, it looks like something like this. So there is this slope given so that this used water can move from point A to point B using this slope. So it has some kind of velocity so that it can move from point A to point B. Right. So I think it's very self-explanatory. If you look at the city like from this view, what you see in the red is the smaller pipelines or smaller sewers. What you see the big bold black is the trunk sewer or the big sewer, which eventually takes it to a sewage treatment plant, and the used water gets treated. So this is what generally happens or what has been happening over the years, right? But the point I'm trying to convey here is this looks like a very good system, and this is what happens in most of the Western countries as well. But this is a very expensive solution because if, let's say, to some extent we can use the slope, but eventually we need some pumping stations. That means we need energy. That means we need to apply cost, or we need money to run the system, right? So basically, after you flush down, these sewers or this sewerage network so that it takes all the used water to a centralized located treatment facility. We need to spend a lot of money or pumping or energy to make sure that this used water reaches the treatment facility eventually. And a lot of cities may not be able to afford. So one is affording to implement the system or install the system. That's also costly. Also involves a lot of digging, etc., etc. But running the system is also very costly. And why I'm saying this is because till date, the whole country, India, has been able to provide sewerage system to only 35% of the population. So it's been so many years after freedom, etc., etc. But till date, there are so many investments have also happened. But still, 65% people do not have access to any kind of sewerage network.
Vitush, I would just interrupt for a second and just want to apologize for giving you this reminder that we have reached 5 o'clock right now, and I would request you to wrap up the session in the next 10 minutes.
Right. So right, so that's what I wanted to convey here. Let's move on.
Yeah, in fact, if you could wrap it up in 5 minutes, then we will have a healthy Q&A session for the next 10 minutes.
Great. So what we'll do is we'll quickly run through the rest of the slides. We have just few more left.
Okay.
So what we saw in the beginning was a water supply chain, and we are somehow also trying to understand the used water chain. But it's actually not really a chain, it's a cycle. What you see in front of you, water taken from river, treated, stored, distributed, used water generated, collected, then some of the other kind of wastewater treatment or a sewage treatment plant. Then eventually it goes back to the same river. I think somebody also did share that the used water eventually goes to the same river. So in a nutshell, what we want to convey here is the river from which we are taking water to supply for drinking, the same river is also getting back our used water. I don't know if we were aware of this fact earlier. But then what we can also do is maybe we can reuse this used water for some other purpose. Also, what we can do is we can recycle. That means instead of putting that water into the river, cycle it back so that we don't extract more fresh water from the river. There's some portion of water that we consume comes back from the same cycle, which will make sure that the rivers do not get dry. So on this slide, I just want to convey that around 72,000 MLD. MLD is nothing but million liters per day. So this much volume of used water we generate per day, and we are able to treat barely 1/3 of that with whatever treatment capacity we have. So basically, rest of 2/3, almost 50,000 million liters of used water goes back to these water bodies untreated. So what we saw earlier, that the rivers were getting dry and the groundwater was depleting. What I want to convey here is that as we are increasing the water supply, that means what we are increasing is also the used water. And if we are increasing the used water, this increased used water, which our governments are not able to treat right now completely, is eventually going back to the same water bodies. And eventually what you see on the pictures in front of you is happening to our water bodies. So what we are doing is we are depleting the water bodies from the fresh water, and what we are giving back to the water bodies is this polluted used water. So I would rather kind of, so I had a video, I'll skip on that. just wanted to touch upon this that if we don't have a sewerage system to connect it to a household, then we have some or the other kind of a on-site system. And these on-site systems can be of different types. It could be a septic tank, it could be a cesspool, it could be a soak pit, it could be a pit latrine. Septic tank and cesspool are line structure, which means they don't leak. And soak pit or a pit latrine is an unlined structure, which means they are supposed to infiltrate into the ground. Sometimes these kind of structures are also contributing to groundwater pollution. And just like the wastewater chain, there is a chain for the on-site system as well. What you see on the left is the toilet and the on-site system. There is a truck that will come and extract material from the tank or a septic tank, which should go to a treatment plant, and then because it's a solid cycle, this fecal sludge, if treated well, can really work as a manure. As we were discussing, there are nutrients and carbon in pee and poo. So this whole cycle of managing stuff from the tanks has been given a word called fecal sludge and septage management. I will skip on the video, but you can of course have a look at the video later on as well. So this is, though what we saw, very ideal cases, there is water supply, storage, treatment, but that's not the reality on ground. On ground, what we see is something like this. This is just one of the pictures. I'm sure you must have also seen the drains, open drains, polluted very badly, not getting treated, etc. So it's one of the most neglected sector in our country, unfortunately. And but what we need to understand is that the poor sanitation seeps into every aspect. It seeps into, it spoils the health, nutrition, development, economy, dignity, empowerment, and of course, environment. So this is my last slide. This was just a food for thought for everybody, that instead of thinking water as a chain or use water as a chain, we should think about both these as cycles, right? What you see in front of you is on the top left, there is a water source, there is purification, water distribution, it goes to for whatever purposes. And then there is some kind of reuse and recharge happening. Similarly, for used water, what you see in the sanitation on the right side, you use the water for whatever purposes. Then collect most of the used water that you produce, treat it, and again, complete the cycle, reuse it as much as possible, not recharge, but reuse. So that the impact or the after effects of extracting too much of water from the water bodies gets reduced further and further down. So I would still like to ask one last question before we open it for the audience for questions. Is that now that we understand a little bit about water and sanitation, what do you think can we do at an individual level to contribute to or really celebrate the World Water Day in true sense in every day, rather not just 22nd March? What is it that as an individual you can do to contribute to this cause? If anybody wants to share.
Bitush, we'll take one or two answers. Okay, so the question is what you would like to do in order to make your contribution to the World Environment Day, the World Water Day. And okay, Atik, would you like to tell us how you would like to celebrate the World Water Day?
Ma'am, like in the upcoming summers, am I audible?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, so ma'am, in the upcoming summers, I will use like instead of using showers, I will use my tub to take a bath, because showers waste more water.
All right, thank you. Vitush, let's proceed further with the session, and then we'll keep the last 5 minutes for the Q&A.
Right. So, okay. So just like Atik, I had a few suggestions for you guys that I don't know whether by tub he meant the bigger tub or the bucket, but instead of feeling that this is so bad, nothing happening on ground by the government, there is definitely we can do certain things at our level. So I was just thinking, what is it that I can do? So I had some suggestions for you guys. It's up to you if you want to take it up. So I've kept it very simple RAR, which means reduce, ask, and reuse. What do we need to reduce is our water consumption. Yeah, and you can come up with your own unique ways how you want to do it. You can use bucket while bathing instead of shower, as Atik also said. Many places we see there are two buttons on the cistern when we flush. So the bigger button or the is for when you defecated. The smaller button is when you have urinated. So we sometimes unknowingly press both the buttons or the bigger button. So the bigger button actually flushes down around 14 liters of water. The smaller one flushes down 7 to 8 liters. So if not required, can we press the smaller button so that we conserve that crucial 8 liters per flush? And of course, we can not only ourselves do it and help our family members to also convey to them that let's not leave the tap open, and also our house helps, because it sometimes happens that you may think about it and others in the family may not. Then you need to ask in your society, at your household level, at your school, do we really have a rainwater harvesting system in place? Because these sources, as we discussed, are depleting because we are extracting a lot of water, whether it's groundwater or the river water. So what is it that we can do to replenish these sources? So rainwater harvesting or stormwater management is one such thing that can help us bring that water back to these sources. So we need to, can we ask, do we really have something like that? And let's say in your society or in your household, you realize that we have a septic tank. So if you have a septic tank, this septic tank should be cleaned in every 3 years. And because we don't really bother about it, it happens sometimes that we've not cleaned it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, which means it is causing pollution to environment. So we need to, or let's ask, have we emptied our septic tank timely, or do we have a periodicity of 3 years to clean the septic tank? Then if a sanitary worker comes down to empty the septic tank, can we ask them to wear proper gears, the gloves, the masks, so that they don't inhale those poisonous gases and fell ill? And let's say if we have some or the other kind of treatment system in our society, or we don't have, whether it goes to a sewer network, let's inquire, where does our used water go from our home? The used water that I am producing, where does it go? Let's inquire about it. Then on reuse, I think most of us know there are RO systems generally installed, and that there is a lot of reject water that these RO systems produce. Can we think of ways we can use this reject water for? Like, for example, in my house, I try to use it for mopping floors. And also, maybe check if your society really has a treatment plant. And if it's a treatment plant, are we reusing that water for horticulture or for some other purpose? So we need to. So if at all there is a treatment facility, can we push for reusing the treated water for other purposes and not for just for drinking?
Okay, I'm sorry to intervene, Vitush. I think this is the last slide for the day. And I would now open the session for a quick question and answer round. In case any of you have anything to ask to Bitush, you can quickly present your question right now. I will unmute you. Are there any questions that you would like to ask him? Yeah, all right. There are a couple of hands up. Anuradha Gupta, thank you so much, ma'am, for raising your hand and for joining us. It would be very nice if you could switch on your video. Thank you so much for contacting me. Yes, please answer your query. Sorry, please put up your query. Please unmute yourself. Meanwhile, guys, I would like to also let you know that the slide, which you can see right now, is our subscription. Is how you can subscribe to our website. Just log on to our website and you will see the subscribe option. There are two subscribe options, one right there at the bottom of the website. Simply log in with your email ID and you will get regular updates on such interesting sessions that we host every month. In fact, Bitush, I would like to let you know that we have received a lot of appreciation for our session, and the chat strip has a lot of compliments for you and for taking up a topic like this. Thank you so much for all your appreciation, and make sure that you guys subscribe to us. Furthermore, in the previous slide was the poster of our Gobar Times magazine. I would like to, thank you so much. So I would like to let you know that we all have, that we people come up with a magazine called the Gobar Times every month. I hope that you all are already aware of it. And please feel free to take a look at it. It's an environment magazine made completely for you. And I hope that you will enjoy checking it out. In fact, I'm also putting up some links on the screen on the chat strip right now for you people to check out the magazine quickly. All right, getting back to the session, are there any questions for Bitush? Dani and Anhad, would you like to ask a question to Bitush?
Yes, not about the meeting, but can you tell me where we can find this link and where we can tell the email address?
Email address of what?
Of that.
Can you subscribe to us? Yeah, so I've just put the link on the chat strip right now. So if you can just, if you just click at it, you will get to see, you will get to visit our website.
Down to Earth link?
Yeah. That's young.downtoearth.org. Just scroll down at the bottom of the page and there you can subscribe to us.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other important query that anyone has for Bitush or for me, please present it to us right now. Anuradha ma'am, in case you are available, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. Hello, good evening.
Hi.
Thank you so much. It was a really very informative session. So it's really nice that such an issue has been touched upon and explained very deeply to the students. My very simple question is like, what is better, taking a shower or taking bath from the bucket? Because often this confusion is there in my mind. I do my best to conserve water as much as possible in my day-to-day activities, and I do a lot of reusing and recycling of water and other resources. But I'm always confused whether it is good to take a shower or...
What would you recommend?
So the general norm is that using bucket is going to save more water. But I mean, if what I would like to convey is that using bucket doesn't mean that because it is allowed to use bucket, you use 3 buckets to take a bath.
Right, absolutely.
So, that's the only caveat. So instead of using 3 buckets, then I will rather encourage to use a shower for, let's say, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So the intention is important, I think, and if you use 1 bucket of water, which is around 20 liters, that is more than enough to you So if you're using one bucket, then you are saving water than instead of using a shower.
Okay, thank you so much. But have you ever estimated the amount of water which is used when we take a shower for maybe 2 minutes with a normal flow, with the normal shower flow? How many liters of water is used by a person if he's taking a shower?
The audience can take up and
Find out.
let's find out. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I'll take one last question for the day. Anaya, you have your hand raised for quite some time. Do you want to put up your question? Oops, Anaya is gone.
That ma'am.
All right. Back. Yeah. Anaya, which class are you in and where are you based? And then go on to ask your question or make your comment.
I was asking the same question ma'am was asking.
All right. Okay. So
I put in the chat also.
okay. Okay, that's cool. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Akrish, for this lovely comment. Thank you so much, everybody who has complimented our session today on the chat strip. People have found our session, your session, very informative and very eye-opening, as the subtitle of our poster says, that it's going to be an eye-opener. Thank you so much, Bitush, for such an informative session. I hope our kids have had some important takeaways from it. Make sure that you don't call wastewater as wastewater, but it should be called as used water because it is reusable. Now you know that excreta composes of your poop and pee, and now you know that your toilet water contributes a lot to the wastage of water. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. In case you want this PPT, please email me your email ID or drop me an email on young@downtoearth.org.in, and I would be glad to send you the PPT for your record. And I hope that you guys would turn up in our session next month. Make sure that you subscribe to us and keep reading and enjoying our Goober Times. I will request Sukanya to unmute all of you, and then you can say your thank yous and goodbyes to everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, ma'am. Thank you,
And
sir.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
ma'am and sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank you,
sir.
ma'am. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much,
sir.
Bitush. It was lovely to have you join us at CSC session. Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye,
Bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, sir. Sir, have a doubt.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, sir.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, ma'am. Bye, sir. Apa kena?